have arrived at the famous Autodromo Nazionale di Monza, just on the outskirts of Milan, for the running of the Italian Grand Prix, the home of the Ferrari Red Tifosi. And coming into this week, unlike in previous seasons, a Ferrari driver has been announced for 2020 here in Monza, along with another team that has announced a driver this week as well. The first team news of the day, of course, concerns Ferrari, as to the shock of no one, they have announced that two-time race winner Laura Chung will remain with the team for another season. Laura has had a brilliant first year with the prancing horse, despite being beaten at the moment by current teammate Joseph Willows and a few shaky moments during the season. She currently lies 4th in the Drivers' Championship, 17 points behind Red Bull driver Miklos Gau, and her team Ferrari lies 2nd in the Constructors, 4 points behind current leaders Mercedes. Laura was of course given a lifeline by Ferrari at the beginning of the season, as she initially didn't have a drive for 2019. However, when Florian Volker announced his sudden retirement at the end of last season, which led to Amar Khan moving over to Mercedes, it left Laura Chung, who was originally meant to be the test driver, the opportunity to take the seat, and she has made use of her opportunity by taking 2 wins so far this season at Spain and last week at Belgium. Laura will be happy to know that she'll still be with the prancing horse next season, and she'll be hoping to have another brilliant season where she may end up being the team leader. The question now on Ferrari is who will be her teammate, with Joseph Willows leaving the team at the end of the season to rejoin McLaren. Rumours have ranged for the likes of David Kupak and Roberto Gamba if they miss out on an AlphaTauri seat, to Robert Ionescu, who could return to the top class with his dream team, to even former Haas and Sauber driver Bartosz Klos, who has only recently just become a contender for Ferrari, given that he is currently ahead of Ionescu in the DTM Drivers' Championship, and the fact that just like with David and Roberto, he has the prancing horse down as his number 2 choice, with his number 1 choice ironically being Haas, which is the team he drove for back in 2015. It will be very interesting to see who Ferrari ends up choosing as Laura's teammate for 2020. The second and final team news today concerns Manor, as they have announced that 2018 DTM champion Rosetta Martinez will remain with the team in Manor's final season. Rosetta has had a decent rookie season after skipping GP2 to join the top class. He currently lies last in the Drivers' Championship, being the only driver so far yet to score a point, and his team Manor lie last in the Constructors, 7 points behind fellow Mercedes engine team Williams. Rosetta not scoring points this season, just like with his teammate Maxim Titkov last season, is not a true reflection of his pace this season. An example of his pace came at Belgium last week, where apart from spinning at the Clom and having contact with his teammate at Pirwan, he was fighting with a load of midfield cars during the race, even keeping back the 2 McLarens before the first round of stops. He was unlucky not to finish that race due to a pit lane entry crash with the Racing Point of Roland Motrin, who was another driver that Rosetta was battling with during the race. Rosetta will be happy to know that he will be with Manor in their final season, and he will be hoping to give the team a good send-off in 2020. The question now on Manor is who will be his teammate. Maxim Titkov does have a chance of being retained for next season, however he may need to up his game given that his performances as of late have been a cause for concern at the team despite picking up 2 points this season at China. If he isn't able to pick up his performances, then there is a chance that current Formula E Championship contender Amelia Wilson could grab the second Manor seat off of Maxim Titkov. If the team ends up going with Amelia, then she will end up being the second female on the grid in 2020, given that we know now that Laura Chung will remain with Ferrari for another season. It will be very interesting to see over the next few weeks who Manor ends up choosing to be Rosetta's teammate in their final season. And that is it for this week's edition of the GP4 OC News. The next team news will break at the returning Korean Grand Prix next week, who will be announced tune into Tuesday's practice session next week at the Korea International Circuit in Yeongnam. And my voice is back. Obviously, this was meant to be George Rote that was speaking today, but obviously, this isn't George's voice. It sounds a bit too Midlandsy to be George's voice. I am JW97, the person who's been creeping up in these commentaries for quite a bit. But we are here for the practice session here at the Italian Grand Prix at Monza, and I'm joined today in the commentary box by a resident of Italy. His name is Franco Gamba. How are you doing? Are you alive?
Hello. I'm here? Okay.
Hi,
guys. Okay. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. So, is it all right? Hope you guys are doing well. And yeah, there we go. We are at Monza. So, on track for me as Italian and all other Italians driving in the OC. So let's see how this practice are going.
Indeed. Well, we've got a dry session, as you can see, a bit of cloud cover, but we shouldn't expect any rain in this practice session. Whether that will be an omen for the qualifying later on, we'll have to wait and see, of course. But yes, you would have seen the newses right there on your screen. Of course, Laura Chung remaining at Ferrari. Obviously, that will please the Tifosi because, of course, over the last few years, a Ferrari driver hasn't been announced at Monza. Well, Laura has kind of broken that duck this season, and a Ferrari driver has been announced here at Monza. So the Tifosi are happy to know that she's going to be staying around for another season. The question, of course, now being who will be her teammate, of course. We'll get onto that in a little bit. Of course, there's no test drivers here today. It's just the main drivers who are in the car for today's session, so don't be surprised about that. Of course, speaking of the person that we're looking at right now, Rosetta Martinez, another person who has been announced that will be retained next season at Manor for their final season, of course, and also a bit of a question mark on who his teammate will be next season. Will it be this person who's coming out the pit lane? Will Maxim Titkov still be around, or will it be the rumoured Amelia Wilson, or could it be someone else? That is going to be a bit of a question mark that's going to be thrown around, I think for a while, I think. But yeah, going back to Ferrari, of course, with Laura being retained, of course, the question surrounding on who her teammate will be for next season, of course, with Joseph Willows going over to McLaren for next season, she obviously needs a new teammate. And, well, I'm pretty sure that somebody in this commentary box is hoping that a certain someone gets that Ferrari seat or even the AlphaTauri seat. I guess you're hoping Roberto gets back in the top class next season, Franco.
Yeah, I think I want to humiliate him on track, so it will be great if both of us stays in the top class.
If
it will be great.
I guess if Videri gets retained at Alfa Romeo for next season, then I guess it strengthens the Gamba Mafia, as you call it.
Gamba Mafia at 100% will be awesome explosion. You can insert the Rosberg meme explosion.
But yeah, indeed. Anyway, as you can so, as we can see, the tyres that we're using for this week is the medium tyres. And we mentioned this just before we went on the air, actually, that the last 4 races, it's been hard tyres, medium tyres, hard tyres, medium tyres. Any chance it will be the hard tyres next week at Korea? That would be such a coincidence. But anyway, the laps have already started to go. And Titkov is obviously going to be the first to set a benchmark of time, although he could be holding up Joseph Willows who's behind him at the moment, and I can tell it's Joseph Willows because it's the yellow helmet that's behind the halo there of the Ferrari. Of course, Ferrari here in front of their adoring Tifosi, hoping to pull on a show, especially at the last race where Laura Chung dominated that race to take a second ever victory in the OC. And of course, the Ferrari are expected to be the favourites here again at Monza, given that it is a track that suits their engine quite well, given that they are the quickest in a straight line. So they are expected to possibly try and challenge for the win here again this weekend, as well as is getting held up now by Titkov. But whether they will or not is another question, because anything could happen here at Monza, as we've seen plenty of times over the seasons, because it is known for being a bit of a slipstream fest, this track is.
Yeah, I think that overall Ferrari here have the advantage of having a strong engine and a great top speed. So with the slipstream, they are going to be rocket ships. And for other drivers of other teams driving Renault, Mercedes, and Honda powered cars, it's gonna be difficult to be close with them. So let's see what will happen.
Well, we see there the first 2 times of up on the board. Joseph Willows 1.2 seconds quicker than Titkov. Maybe could have been a lot quicker if he wasn't held up by Titkov there, because we saw a few times he had to lift off. Motrin goes into second, Martinez fourth. The home favourite, Franco Gama, goes to the top now. Another person that the Italian fans will be cheering on, that's for sure, along with the likes of Paolino Tomaselli and Andrea Videri. Of course, this is Videri's first Italian GP in the top class, as Willows is up on his personal best in the first sector, and up on Lopez, I should say, because Lopez has gone to the top. Videri has gone to third in the Alfa Romeo. Alfa Romeo and Haas are also expected to be strong here this weekend in the midfield, given they have a Ferrari engine in the back. Carr went to third briefly because Chung has now gone up into second place in the Ferrari, 800ths off of championship leader Franco Lopez, who comes into this race with a 30-point lead over Joseph Willows. Franco Gama now is getting held up now by a Manor, this time being the retained Rosetta Martinez. So That's not going to do Garmer's lap any good, although he is still up in the first sector there, so who knows whether this could be an improvement. But here comes Willows then, coming up towards the final corner. Will he be able to go back to the top of the timing sheet, or will Lopez stay there? That's the question. Out of the final turn goes the man who's currently lies second in the championship, and we cut to Garmer, who's trying to make an overtake on Martinez, so we'll keep an eye on the timing tower on the left-hand side to see if Willows does improve, and he does go quickest by 300ths of a second there. So there you go, the Ferrari showing its true power, but not by much ahead of Lopez, so it seems that Lopez has got a little bit up his sleeve this weekend. But of course, this is only practice, of course. We've still got the qualifying session a little bit later on, because things could change in that.
Yeah, I think that it's only practice, but we can see that the field is pretty close. So Mercedes and Ferrari, I think, are the main ones that could actually fight for something important. Maybe Red Bull could be an underdog, but I actually think that the top two teams in the constructor standings are going to be very, very strong this weekend, more than the others.
Yeah, indeed. We just saw there that Martinez had a lock-up, and whilst we were talking there, Lopez actually went back to the top of the timing sheets, with Chung getting up into third position. Byrne improves a little bit, but remains in P11 at this point in time. Martinez just being overtaken by Garmer, so Garmer will now have some clear air in front when he starts his next lap, I presume, because I would have imagined that this lap may have been compromised, but then again, he might have not lost too much given he overtook him in the first sector. As Willows makes a little error there, and that's going to be a crash. And the Tifosi are not going to like that one. Joseph Willows has crashed at the same corner he crashed out 2 years ago, and Titkov loses his front wing in the process, clipping some debris as well. So the first crash here at Monza goes to Joseph Willows, and more front wing damage from Motrin. So we've got damage galore around here as Willows makes a mistake at Parabolica.
Well, that's actually a boom, but not for a pole position.
Yeah, not quite there. And some people saying Leclerc... Sorry, continue there.
Yeah, it reminds of the Leclerc crash. It's very, very similar.
Yeah, the crash that Leclerc had in 2020, except without the oversteer. This is more of an understeer moment here for Willows. But it was the crash that he had 2 years ago, in fact, here in 2017. Probably could have been a deciding factor in that championship back in 2017 between himself and Will Neller and Jay McKenzie, of course. But... yeah, I don't think Willows will want to be doing that in the race, that's for sure, tomorrow. And because we know that plenty of drivers have made mistakes in that corner in the past. And of course, it did cause damage to both Titkov and Motrin. We're seeing it from Motrin, and he clips that little bit of debris that you just saw there on the exit, which made him lose his front wing.
Motrin actually the debris. Yeah.
Motrin clipped the debris. In fact, Garmer's now actually got some damage as well. He's lost the front wing as well.
Yeah, no.
And well, that's that way. So Garmer's, he's just past the pit lane as well. So he's going to have to make a full trip back to the pits to get that one repaired. So he's going to have to wait a little bit longer, perhaps, to make an improvement, as Videri is going to be crossing the line very soon. The debris is now clear from everybody. Here is Miklos Gau, who finished second last time out in Belgium, currently down in 7th. I don't know if he's on an improvement. I don't think he will improve, and no, he won't. He remains in 7th position that time by, as he's coming back into the pits this lap anyway, ironically on the same lap that Garmer comes in, obviously, to repair that front wing. As Chatfield, meanwhile, who has been a star over the last 3 races, it has to be said, Franco currently in 14th at the moment, obviously scored points in the last 3 races in the Haas, and I think it's fair to say that, judging from some comments, I think a lot of people are probably surprised that he hasn't been announced for a certain seat for next season. I think you mentioned as well, before we went on the air, that you were actually quite surprised that he didn't get announced.
Yeah, I'm absolutely surprised, because I think the last 3 races has been absolutely surprising from him. He actually beat by a lot his teammate, even if his teammate was a bit unfortunate, but he would have beaten him probably, even if he wouldn't have the unfortunate circumstances. But it's impressive also to do a 7th place in a circuit like Spa. Okay, that is a Ferrari powered car, and it is helpful for his engine and his car probably. But arriving ahead of way stronger cars in a circuit like Spa, it's impressive. So I think that with that, and also the other 2 races he has done before, like in Hungary, he finished 6th, and in Germany 8th, if I remember correctly. he actually has proved himself that he's there and is going to be a very, very strong candidate for, I think, this race as well, as it is another track that suits the Ferrari-powered cars pretty well. So let's see what will happen this week and if he can actually continue the streak.
Well, we will have to wait and see, of course, with that one. Of course, Chris is linked with a move to AlphaTauri for next season. Whether he will get that drive or not is another question, of course, because I know there is quite a lot of stiff competition for that seat as well, given that we know that there's at least one seat available, given that Matteo Catalan failed to sign up for the 2020 season. So that's going to be another question, I think. We're looking at George Roque, another guy who's actually been on form recently in the last few races, it must be said. Apart from the crash he had in Hungary, he has actually started to pick it up in the second half of the season. A little bit like he did last season, in fact, when he was at Haas.
Yeah, actually, George tends to perform better in the second part of the season. It happened last season as well when he was at us, and I think from France, or at least the first part of the championship, it doesn't perform pretty well. But after in the second part of the championship, he started to be impressive. Probably the best George Roque we have ever seen in those seats since probably seasons. Even better than the George Roque that it was in Mercedes.
Yeah, definitely. He's definitely been thriving in the midfield. Of course, he is remaining at Racing Point next season when the team is expected to be a little bit more stronger, and Rogue hoping to do a good job next season as well with the team. And whilst we were talking there, Chung improved on her lap time, and we also saw Byrne improve as well to be, well, the devil's phone number behind Franco Lopez. So I wonder if he's got some connections with the devil on that one. That's that then. So... Yeah. Anyway, we look at Chung, who's coming back into the pits. Of course, the driver, of course, who will be remaining at Ferrari next season, of course. Obviously, she may be expected to be the team leader next season at Ferrari, given that Jose Willows is going. Whether she will take up that role next season is another question. But we'll have to wait and see. Meanwhile, we'll look back at Byrne. He was up on the first sector there, but he seems to have lost some time now in the middle sector. Not by much. He can still gather it back in the last sector. Of course, we know how good the Renault is at straight line speed tracks because of its low drag, and we saw that it was able to get a double points finish last time out in Belgium, even with a one stop. Okay, they got the double points finish thanks to a bit of luck, but they were still there to capitalise. Byrne was fighting hard in the points, and Jay obviously got a little bit lucky to get into the points. But they still got the double points finish, and they are expected to do well here again at Monza. Here is Chris Chatfield, who has been the superstar in the last few races. I hope I haven't jinxed him at this point. But anyway, as Chatfield now then goes around the Curva Grande, let's see what his first sector is like compared to his personal best. And 500ths off in the first sector. Still possible to gain it back, but this is, of course, where most of the time is either gained or lost because, of course, it's the more technical part of the track, as the other two sectors are basically just straights where they were just medium-speed corners. Not really much of a challenge. Chatfield now then just goes down the back straight heading towards Ascari. He'll be heading towards the second sector. And Evan said there, yeah, hung out with Satan last night, if you catch my drift. Yeah, due to the fact that he's 0.666 behind Franco Lopez. Anyway, and I think he was also referring to something else as well there. As Martinez, meanwhile, whilst we were just speaking there, Martinez goes up to 7th in the manner. Whoa. Pretty impressive time there for Rosetta Martinez, the driver, of course, who will be retained by Manor next season. And so that's that then, really. And yeah, I think I do catch what you mean there, Evan. I think I do get what you mean by that. I won't. I'll try and let everybody else try and figure out what you mean by that. So that's that. Anyway, here is Chatfield again, though, just going around the Curva Grande. Currently finds himself down in 15th position. Of course, I'd expect him to be probably a little bit quicker in qualifying, of course, when the fuel is a lot less lighter and we see some quicker lap times. I would expect Chatfield to possibly thrive. Could we perhaps maybe see a Haas in Q3? That's going to be a question mark, I think. They weren't able to do it last time out in Spa, but could they this time, do you think, Franco?
I think that the long-awaited Q3 for Chris Chatfield probably this time there is more chances to happen. So I'm confident that he will be in Q3. Hopefully, I don't jinx him, but I have this feeling that he can actually do it.
Catalan, meanwhile, has gone up into 6th place in the Toro Rosso. We just saw Kirishima De Rosa there, who was up on his personal best in the first sector. Well, speaking of that team, though, obviously McLaren will want to forget Belgium altogether. Really, it was a disastrous weekend for McLaren, to put it that way. Both cars knocked out in Q1. Tomaselli starting in last, and then both of them retiring with mechanical failures. A race they want to put behind, that's for sure. And well, given this track here at Monza is also a straight line speed track. Is there a chance that we could see McLaren suffer again this weekend?
I think that, yeah. Unfortunately, Renault engines are not that strong in a fast track like this. But you never know. Actually, Hiroshima is 7th, and he was improving. He can actually surprise us, I think.
I mean, De Rosa has been unlucky the last couple of races because he's obviously retired from a points-paying position. Well, it was only 1 point, but they could have at least scraped something last week at Belgium because De Rosa was in 10th, but of course he had that suspension failure, which put paid to that and ended up not scoring any points, handing a double points finish to Renault. Whilst we were talking there, Willows has now gone to the top of the timing sheets by 1/10 of a second with a 1:21.321, so he's got the top spot back off of Lopez there, and I think that's Chung that's behind. I think that was I can't remember who we were viewing there. It happened in a flash. I think it might have been Chatfield, yeah, he was coming into the pits. Someone else is coming into the pits. We're just viewing now is Evan Byrne, currently lies in 10th, just in the cusp of the top 10 there. And currently behind Gal at this point in time. As we now look at Felix Sontag, a man who has been a little bit shaky over the last few races, it must be said. Obviously, last time out, he was unfortunate to be taken out in Belgium after his fellow compatriot David Kupak had a crash which caused him to clip some debris, run off the track, and then he ended up hitting the wall. It's not been a run of luck so far for Sontag compared to previous races he's had. He'll be hoping to try and turn it around if he can this weekend at Monza.
Yeah, Felix had a great start of the season. Sadly, right now he's not having the best last few races. He lost a bit of form, but I think that in track like this, he can actually bounce back and maybe could bring some surprises for us. I'm confident that he will come back stronger. Sadly, yeah, he was very, very unlucky last few races. Sometimes without his fault, sometimes for his fault.
He's currently up in the middle sector as we talk about him there, but yeah, of course, we saw last week as well how much pace the Williams can have. Just look at Lean Campana as he was able to get into Q3 last time out in Belgium. It was unfortunate what happened to him as well during the race when he made that mistake at the top of Radion there, losing his front wing in the process, costing any chance the team had of probably getting a points finish at Belgium. It was quite unfortunate, but of course it was his own mistake at the end of the day. He only has himself to blame for that. Sontag does improve, but only up to 20th ahead of teammate Lean Campana at this point in time as he makes his way through into the first chicane. And he's obviously doing another lap because the pit indicator hasn't come up on the def panel. His fellow compatriot, Kupak, is currently in 15th at the moment, nearly a second off of Jose Wells at the moment. Here's Franco Gamba. He might have got some fresh slipstream out of that, but not enough to improve at this point in time as he's side by side with, ironically, the guy he's fighting for that second Red Bull seat next season, Jay McKenzie. As speaking of a Red Bull, Gal goes up into 8th ahead of Rosetta Martinez. Of course, I would ask your opinion on who will get the second seat for the Red Bull seat, but of course it involves you, so of course you'll obviously say yourself on that one. But are you hoping you'll be there next year, Franco?
Absolutely. I think that next season, with the fact that there is strong chances that Mercedes and Red Bull are going to be the top teams, I could probably be quiet in P4, so at least it's better than this year's current P6. So, by the way, it's gonna be a tough battle with Jade because Jade's also performing well, and compared to Franco Gamba, he's maybe in a way weaker car, and you also expect a lot from Franco because he's driving a Red Bull. But also Jay is a two-time world champion, and it could bring surprises. And at the end, probably one of the two could be without a seat. So it's gonna be an all or nothing for both of them, probably.
Indeed, that's what makes that mystery about that second Red Bull seat very interesting. Well, whoever gets the seat, of course, they will end up partnering alongside Miklos Gal next year, who, of course, has made a big turnaround compared to last year, of course. And obviously, last time out, made the strategy work to perfection. The one, so in fact, both Red Bull drivers did to get second and third. A big haul of points for them, although they are still a long way off Ferrari and Mercedes, it must be said. As we see Willows there, who's just come out of the pitch, just in front of one of the Toro Rossos there. I believe that's Matteo Catalan, because that's the Charles Leclerc helmet that's behind the Toro Rosso. And I know that Catalan wears that helmet, and Q-Pot wears a custom-made helmet that was made by Joao Pedro Kirby. So, a bit of an interesting fact, if you didn't know that JP Kirby made David Q-Pot's helmet. So, was it someone else? I can't remember. But anyway, I believe it was Kirby. Anyway, from what I remember, I could be wrong. But anyway, as Sontag meanwhile comes down the pit straight, got one of the Alfa Romeos following behind. Sontag does not improve, and it was Gomez. In fact, he goes up into fifth. It was Evan, fair enough. It was one of the two. I was thinking, was it Evan or was it Kirby? And it was Evan. Fair enough. Anyway, as Gomez goes up into fifth position, might I add. Now, as we've mentioned a few times, he is a man under pressure, it must be said, because the season for him has not been the best, you could say, for Gomez. He is under a little bit of pressure at the moment. Of course, he does have AlphaTauri as his number one choice, with Alfa Romeo being his second choice, but whether he will be in the top class next season or not is another question.
Yeah, I think that so far Gomez is underperforming a lot, sadly. He had some few good opportunities that has been probably ruined by both his fault and fault of others. I think, for example, the accident he had in Britain, in which he took out armor car when he was P7, and he was going to be probably even best of the rest if it wasn't for the crash, because he was going very, very fast. So also he has done a lot of mistakes that that sadly has costed him a bit of points as well. So and also you have a teammate unexpected that the 30 years old rookie there is beating him that massively.
Yeah, that meme that's been floating around, created by Yuri, the 36-year-old rookie. As we were speaking there, I just saw that Byrne went up into 6th place there that time by, and Gal on the cusp of the top 10 at this point in time. So Byrne goes up to 6th there in the Renault. We saw that Lopez got a healthy dose of slipstream there in the first sector to be up on his personal best, but still 5 thousandths off of Willows in the first sector. Whether he can try and turn that around in the second and third sector is another question. So far, those two in this practice session have been trading lap times, and what's he said, both the top two in the Drivers' Championship. Of course, Willows desperately needs to bounce back, of course, because he finds himself 30 points behind Franco Lopez in the Drivers' Championship. That is obviously over a win and the fastest lap ahead of the gap between the top two at this point in time, and obviously Willows needs to turn that around here at Monza. And of course, this is the last time he's going to be a Ferrari driver at the Italian Grand Prix, it must be said, and he'll be hoping that in his last Italian Grand Prix as a Ferrari driver, he hopes to give the Tifosi a good send-off before he heads back to McLaren next year. Meantime, we look at Sontag, who's trying to get a little bit of slipstream off of Gomez in front, because I think Gomez overtook him whilst we were looking elsewhere. Across the line, Sontag does not improve and remains in 21st. Tomaselli down in 20th at this point in time. I wouldn't read too much into that practice session, because we don't know really where the McLarens are going to end up during qualifying here at Monza, because, of course, we saw what happened last time out in Belgium, how they got knocked out in Q1. Whether that will be the same here at Monza, another track which requires a lot of straight line speed, is another question. Unlike the Renault team, which also has a Renault engine, where they've got the low drag that's helping them down the straights, McLaren don't really have that luxury. So they're just pretty much praying at this point and probably hoping to get some slipstream to try and help them out, perhaps in qualifying. Unlike in real life, though, it's fair to say when it comes to qualifying in real life, we won't be seeing any of that BS slipstreaming, which could be a bit of a danger hazard. And that's the only thing that's kind of worrying me about Friday's qualifying when we get there at Monza. And because that's obviously the race where they're having the other sprint race. So, meantime, Garma got by a Haas, but then the Haas re-overtook him there. That Haas being Chris Chatfield, we just saw there. So, it didn't work out that well for Garma there. Whether Red Bull will be in that top 6 group is another question. In real life, of course, when Red Bull were here in real life, they did struggle compared to Renault and other teams. So whether that will translate into the OC is another question. So far, it doesn't look like it will with Garma, but seeing where Gal is at the moment, it's a bit 50-50. We'll have to wait and see on that. Meanwhile, here comes Sontag. Across the line he goes. No improvement again for him, as we have just over 1.5 minutes to go in this session. As somebody's getting a healthy bit of slipstream from Videri. That was Q-Park, because he gets up into 13th position. Here's Martinez, finds himself in 11th. Been a good session for the Filipino, the driver, the 2018 DTM champion, who of course is staying at Manor for next season in their final season. Doesn't improve, nor did Mottram behind. Fosbury's on improving. He finds himself down in 18th. Whether he can keep that up in the last sector is another question. Across the line, he will go, and he does improve, but only up into 17th position. Here's Joseph Willows, the man who's currently at the top of the timing sheets. Will he be doing one more lap, or will he be coming back into the pits after this lap? And he's doing another lap. He didn't improve that down by. Evan Byrne across the line. He goes, remains in 6th. Carr remains in 7th at the moment. Here comes Franco Gamba. Of course, did get impeded a bit by Chris Chatfield, and he didn't improve that time around. Here is Jay McKenzie. No improvement for him at this point in time. Chatfield has actually gone back into the pits. Titkov across the line he goes. He's currently in last. 11 places behind teammate Martinez. Remains in last at this point in time. Here's De Rosa. 9th position at the moment. Across the line he will come. And no improvement for him either. Here comes Mikael Scal trying to get some slipstream from Campana, but it didn't quite work out. He's got one more lap anyway. Gomez currently in 5th. Across the line he goes. The man who was a superstar in Q1 last time out in Belgium, but kind of fell away in Q2. Doesn't improve. Sontag, no improvement for him. Q-Puck across the line, he's going through an improvement at the moment, but let's see if he can keep that up. No, he can't. Lost time in the last sector. Videri doesn't improve. The seconds are counting down, and the checkered flag is out. Videri was the last car to cross the line, so once Videri crosses the line, that will be the end of the session. Martinez doesn't improve. Motrin doesn't improve. Here comes Fosbury heading down the pit straight. Across the line will go the Haas driver. And Fosbury, I don't think he's going to improve. And Note remains in 17th. Chung doesn't improve. She remains in 3rd. Here comes Willows. Looks like he's going to be topping the session in the end because Lopez is in the pits. Here comes Willows across the line. I don't think he's going to improve. And Note, 3/10 off his personal best. Here comes Byrne, who's on improvement, but can he keep that up? And Note loses time in the last sector. Carr doesn't improve either. Clearly that little bit of slipstream not being there that time by for Byrne. Gamba doesn't improve. Here comes Mackenzie, who currently is down in 12th position, and he remains in 12th for this session. Here comes Titkov, down in last, not improving at this point in time. Across the line, go the Russian, and this is not going to be improving, and no, it's not. De Rosa now then in the McLaren, currently 9th, probably going to stay in 9th for let's see. And he remains in 9th. Campana's on improvement, and he goes up into 19th position, or I should say stays in 19th, as Gal tried to get some more slipstream off Campana, but ended up getting held up in the process and remains in 10th position. Sontag across the line, he will now go in the Williams, and no improvement for him, as here is Q-Pop. He's on another improvement. Can he keep this up? No, lost time in last sector. Videri last car to cross the line, and he does not improve. So there you have it. That is practice over then, with Willows topping the session and have Lopez and Chung. So what did you make of that session overall, Franco?
Yeah, it is the confirmation that Ferrari here is pretty strong. So with the fact that also the Tifosi in GP4 are passionate as in real life, Ferrari will have a big boost here. So, but watch out for Mercedes, especially Franco Lopez, who is I see pretty strong last races. Maybe Armor Car could be an underdog, but yeah, I see more Lopez as a danger for Ferrari.
Well, we'll have to wait and see, of course, because yeah, and then maybe Red Bull as well. Yeah, well, we'll have to wait and see, of course, because we haven't got that long to find out. Of course, we'll go offline briefly, and then we'll set up a new stream for the qualifying session. But until then, for now at least, I've been JW97. He's been Franco Gamba, and we'll see you in a little bit for the qualifying session. See you in a few minutes.